Good evening and welcome to day 5 of our Praying Parents Network International Conference. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'd like to say a big thank you to Pastor Hannah for this opportunity that I have. So the topic I've been given is steps to attaining harmony in our relationships. And by relationships, I'm going to be focusing basically on our families. I know you've heard so much about families, and we just can't hear enough, really, to be honest with you. And so in this teaching, you won't be hearing Bible verses or that. No, I'm going to do this like we're having a coaching exercise. I'm just giving you nuggets as I believe would help your family and my family, because as I teach this, I'm also learning. One thing I know is that in the place of prayer, when we pray, we receive wisdom and direction on how to go, and that's what we're going to be doing this evening. God will not do for you and I what he expects us to do by ourselves and for ourselves, and our God is a God who emphasizes individual responsibility, like I do as well. I believe so much in individual responsibility being emphasized, because most times we pray and we're just saying, and God will give me grace. God has given you the grace. The Bible says of his fullness you have received grace for grace. You see, now I've started quoting Bible. Okay, so God is not going to do for us what he expects us to do for ourselves. That's why he says, husbands, love your wife. He didn't say I will love your wife for you. He says, wives, submit to your own husband, your responsibility as a wife. And it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord. So this is why we're here. We're here to emphasize individual responsibilities. We're going to be looking at those seemingly not so important things that we believe, but these are things that cause a lot of disaffection and disunity in families. The first thing I like to do, because I'm a teacher by training, is to define harmony. I like to read the Collins Dictionary definition. It says here that harmony is the pleasant combination of different notes of music that is played at the same time. A pleasant combination of different notes of music. So that means, in essence, that harmony is music where each note is coming together to give a beautiful symphony. Did you get that? Harmony is such that no note in that music is silenced. No note in that music is more important than the other. No note in that music is inconsequential. Every note is important for the musician or the music director, or whatever you call him, for him to achieve the agreement that comes out, and it is now not noise, but it is music to our souls. And you see, this is the exact way that God expects for our relationships to be. He expects us to, in our different places, each playing its own note, her own note, to play in such a way that we do not feel threatened by the other person, by the next person. We do not feel ignored. We are not silenced. Nobody feels more important, carrying shoulder. No. Every person in this family is important to us achieving the good, beautiful sound that people will hear and they will applaud. The Bible says in Amos chapter 3, verse 3, I'm quoting the Bible. Yes, I know. It says, can three walk together except they be agreed? There's a need for you to call for what you call true harmony to happen. There's a need for each member of the family to play his role and to play it well, so that we all come out beautiful and there's not one person is trying to outshine the other. I said here that when we talk about harmony in families, we're not talking about a family where there's no conflict at all. Please, I need to say that as foundation. So you're not going away and you're saying, yes, in our family, for us to be in harmony, there can't be conflicts. No, there will always be conflicts. That's why the Bible says, be angry and sin not. But the point is, harmony that we're talking about here is the presence of understanding, the presence of patience, is the presence of love, and a shared commitment for you and I to make this work, just like in the music sound. So there's understanding, there's patience, there's love, there's a commitment that this family must work out. It must produce sound that is music in the ears of God the Father. So it is not so much that there's absence of conflict, no. It is us working together in love, in patience, in understanding to ensure that our family lives to what God expects. So I'm going to be talking to us about some things that are seemingly little things, but they are important for you and I to maintain harmony in our families. So go with me. The first thing I'd like to say for you to establish or to maintain harmony in your family is that you must establish healthy boundaries. Yes, ma. There's a need for us to establish healthy boundaries. Why have I said this? Boundaries will foster respect. Boundaries will eliminate misunderstanding. Boundaries will help to enhance emotional well-being of the individuals concerned. And so when we are rooted in love and respect for one another, we are able to create boundaries in our environment. And as such, we value this person's need for his space. We give room to that person for her space. Because there's love and respect, we understand the need for this person to have a nurturing environment for himself or herself. I'll explain further. Jesus Christ himself, there were times he wanted to be alone. And so you will hear, and Jesus went to a quiet place. That's the way it is with us as families. We need this respect and love for other members, for them to say to us that we respect you. We respect the boundaries you have put in place, and they're healthy ones. Let me explain how we can achieve this, because I said healthy boundaries. The first thing we need to do for us to have healthy boundaries in our families is that there's a need to define the roles and responsibilities of each person. You know, we make grave mistake as family members when we do not define each person's role and responsibility. And so we have a case of it's everybody's work. It's everybody that should do this. No, please, we need to stop that. Because these are reasons why there's a lot of resentment in homes and families. Let me explain to you. When roles and responsibilities are not clearly defined in any relationship, it can lead to confusion. It can lead to resentment. It will ultimately lead to conflict in that home, and there can never be anything called harmony. I'll give a clearer example, a practical example. If we don't know whose role it is or whose responsibility it is to do certain chores, and it is one person who has an eye for cleanliness that keeps doing it all the time, as time goes on, eventually, this person who is always tidying up after every other person is going to begin to feel resentful towards those who are not doing it. And so, even I've seen sibling rivalry come up from this. I've sat in coaching rooms with grown-ups, 35, 40, 50-year-olds, who would say things to me like, when we were growing up, I was the only one who was always cleaning up in the house. So you can see how much the failure to define roles and responsibilities leads to conflict, leads to resentment. So I've said that to say this, that we must define each person's role, each person's responsibility. Let me give another example. Like even in the bid to parent, your child goes to secondary school, like we call it in Nigeria, and it's 6 years to run through secondary school. It's your responsibility as parents to pay the fees for the 6 years. But then also, it is the responsibility of the child in question to know that this program is for 6 years. And as such, if it goes beyond the 6 years and the child has to repeat a class, it puts pressure on the parents. And what happens? There's a lot of anger. You know, you're just so upset that you have to pay more for of fees for a child that should have finished a year earlier. So the child needs to understand the responsibility. We're performing our roles and duties as parents. We're sending you to school. It's a 6-year course. Your responsibility is to focus in school, focus and do well, that you do not exceed the 1 year. Do you understand? I mean, these are very simple things, but they're things that cause a lot of conflict. And then there's disharmony. There's a lot of anger from one person or the other. So define roles and responsibilities. The next thing is for us to have healthy boundaries. You must respect personal time, privacy, confidentiality, and space. You see, we all need that extra time. We need that time for reflection. We just need time to be alone. Like I mentioned, even Jesus Christ did that. Why? Because when we respect personal time, what are we doing? We are promoting mutual respect. So BC understands that this is XYZ space, and therefore she doesn't encroach on his space or her space. That's mutual respect. We're promoting also respect for other people. We're helping to contribute to healthier, more harmonious relationships in our family. When we respect each other's boundaries, we are saying to them in essence that I believe that you deserve this. That's it. I believe that you need this. And I'm going to cooperate to ensure that you enjoy it totally. Can we learn to create boundaries by respecting people's confidentiality also? When members of our family share things with us in confidence, it's not in our place to run to other extended family members and begin to share this when we haven't gotten approval. As long as it's not something that is a threat to life, can we just keep it and ensure that we are not betraying the trust of the person? So even our children, as parents, you're going into your teenager's room and you don't think you should knock. The thing the father is saying is, why should I knock? It's my house. No, the child deserves the privacy. So it is important for you not to encroach on that privacy. You knock on the door and ensure that the child says, please come in, and then you go in. You expect them to knock before they come into your room. So why won't you respect that? Still talking about boundaries, we must encourage independence. Allow family members to take initiative and let them make their own decisions. What we should be doing is we're supporting them and guiding them so that as they explore these new options that come up to them, as they explore these new innovations, if I can use that word, we are there to be available to guide them that they do not hurt themselves and when needed. I've said that to say this. You know, many of us are helicopter parents, and so we are hovering over our children. We're not even letting them grow. We're not letting them think by themselves. Before they do this, we're thinking it for them. We're overthinking everything. Can we just let people grow? Wife, let your husband grow. Let him develop himself. Encourage him to be independent. Husband, let your wife be independent also. Can I speak to us? Because it's praying parents and we have a lot of pastor and pastor misses. Daddy pastor, can you let the children grow also independently and learn how to pray? It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense to you. They're not praying to you. They're praying to God. Let them do the prayer by themselves. Let God hear them. Let them express themselves to God, their Father, without you and I butting in. So what we can just do is guide. So I've said that. We've talked here about boundaries. I've said define roles and responsibilities, respect personal time, privacy, and confidentiality, and also encourage independence. The second thing I like to talk about to help us to maintain harmonious relationships is we must support each other's growth. We must create an environment where each member of our family is encouraged, understood, and empowered to grow. Let me say that. Each family member must be encouraged, must be understood, and must be empowered to grow. They must be empowered to pursue their individual growth. Where you have just one person growing in a family, all the others are stunted. What happens? That one person that has grown begins to feel like a warlord over others. I mean, I find it interesting, for want of a better word, when I see a man who is doing very well, has gone to business school, has done this, and his wife has just that one certificate, the OND or whatever you call it, that she got 20, 25 years ago. The man is not encouraging her to grow, not supporting her, not empowering her, not understanding the need for growth. Everybody in our family must grow together so that we can be in harmony. And it's not just one note that is sounding. How can we encourage? How can we do this? Support each other's growth. One, there must be open communication. We must ensure that there is a safe space for every member of the family to express their thoughts, to express their dreams, to express their challenges, and even in their pursuits without a feeling of condemnation or judgment. I'll repeat that. There must be a safe space where every person, every member of the family is able to express their thoughts, their dreams, their aspirations without fear of judgment, without fear of condemnation, without fear of being ridiculed. So the goal might not sound interesting to you, but it's not your goal, it's the person's goal. So we need to create that space, because that's what is going to enhance the person to continue to pursue. When he knows that in my family, in the relationship we have in my family, I am able to speak about my goals, I'm able to communicate what I want without fear of judgment or condemnation of any sort. The second thing that will help us to grow as a family, so that we're not resentful, everybody is growing together, is to learn to celebrate achievements. And I like to say this especially to parents. Can we please begin to learn to celebrate both the big and the not so big achievements? You know, I worked in the school system for a number of years, and I would find out that I would see parents would come for prize giving day, and I will observe their countenance when their children do not get prizes. They don't come first, they don't come second or third. Meanwhile, this child that the parent is angry with or beefing, if I can use that word, probably got the best student award in music, best student award in fine art. But because he's not in science or math, the parent feels like the child has not done well. Please stop that. Can we avoid undermining other people's achievements? Can we begin to celebrate all achievements? Everything is important. For the effort that that person has put into it, it is important. Husband, can you begin to celebrate your wife? She goes on that pulpit to take opening prayers. Don't come down and begin to say, just ordinary opening prayer. That's what you're excited about. You think it's a small thing to do opening prayer? Wife, when your husband is pursuing a brief, a contract, and he doesn't exactly nail that, and he nails something that is not so close to it, can you just appreciate what effort he might have put in? Why? Because when we discountenance or we ridicule our achievements in our families, there's a tendency that we create bitterness, we create anger, we shut people down, and we do not let them continue to pursue, and there can't be harmony in the family. Celebrate all achievements. Third thing I like to say concerning supporting of growth is that you must offer constructive feedback. That's like a flow from the last point I talked about. When your feedback is required or when you have to give it, please, I beg you by the mercies of God, give it in a respectful way. Give it in a loving manner. Don't shred what that person has done or has not done. Don't make the person feel like an idiot. It's not in your place to do that. Please give feedback in a way that the person loves you for it, is able to see the perspective you're looking at and appreciate you for it. The fourth thing I like to say under supporting growth is that we must encourage learning and exploration. Can we support each other as family members in pursuing new interests? Can we as family members begin to help them as they express interest in anything? Can we just give them the backing they need? Can we be there for them? Can we be present? Whatever it is, in whatever way we can. And we can do that also by being accountability partners. You know what accountability does is that it helps you to stay on track. So can we give the support that they need by showing genuine interest in what our family members or our relations are doing, those people are doing, so that we help them to stay on track. They are not discouraged. You know, when I decided to take any program I'm running, any course I'm taking, I would always ensure that I tell my husband and the children know about it. And so most times you will find them asking me, how far have I've gone on that? So you will hear questions like, are you done with your program? And you know, the fact that they're going to be asking me just keeps me on track, quietly. Why? Because I don't want to disappoint the faith that they have in me. And so I continue to forge ahead. And in areas that I seem to be lagging, I'm having challenges because there's that opportunity for open communication without being judged. What happens? I'm able to go to them and like, I haven't done so much. I haven't been able to make up my hours. These are the challenges I'm having. And so I'm hearing someone say, can I help you to set up your calendar? Can I help you to set up the meetings? What do you need me to do? It's like a collective effort, because we are notes that must sing together to produce the symphony that is appealing. And therefore, we all must grow together. So we must encourage learning and exploration. And I said, you do this from the place of accountability. Let there be regular check-ins concerning what this person is doing. Okay, the third thing I like to talk about concerning maintaining harmonious relationship in our family. I've talked about creating healthy boundaries. I've talked about supporting for growth. And I said, I'm sharing all these because these are the areas that when people come to me for counseling, I've observed that they're pain points in the hearts of people about the lack of support for growth, about not respecting boundaries. I forgot to say something about that boundary. I'm not sure if I said that, about sneaking and just checking on phones to know what calls came in and think, please stop that. Please, let's stop that. I know some of us have trust issues. Maybe our partner has misbehaved or something. But can we just save ourselves the heartache of running through messages that won't do us any good? So let me go to the third point on maintaining healthy, harmonious relationship. And this one is, I like to talk about healthy conflict resolution. Healthy conflict resolution. You know, I said earlier that harmony is not a lack of conflict. It's the ability by patience, love, and understanding to be able to resolve. So we need healthy conflict resolution. And this is the responsibility of every member of the family. Nobody is left out. Everybody must be a part of this. Why? Why must we have healthy conflict resolutions? One, it will prevent resentment and bitterness. Brethren, everybody listening, you don't want to know how much baggage of bitterness and resentment people are carrying around just because they're not able to resolve their conflicts, the conflicts in their families well. I mean, I have grown-ups that are still dealing with sibling resentment and bitterness. I'm talking grown-ups in their 50s, 60s, who are still holding their siblings responsible for something just because the parents were not able to resolve it in a healthy manner. So unresolved conflicts will lead to bitterness, will lead to lingering resentment if it's not dealt with. Why do we need healthy conflict resolution? So that we can preserve our family relationship and strengthen the love that we have. So that the harmony that we're desirous of can be real and be genuine. When we address our conflicts constructively, it helps us to prevent situations where misunderstandings escalate to larger issues. You know, there's some things that can be addressed quickly and easily, nipped in the bud. But when we fail to do this, what happens? It piles and piles and piles. There's a pile up until it gets out of proportion so that we can't deal with it again. So we preserve our relationship and strengthen our family unit when we have healthy conflict resolution. The third thing is that it promotes healthy communication. For us to resolve our conflict, we must have an atmosphere where there's healthy communication. I mean, if you're angry with someone, I'm sure you can't be having healthy communications with the person. I mean, like you don't even want to talk to the person. Why? Because of the way you're feeling. You just don't want to have anything to do with the person. If you don't have healthy communication, healthy conflict resolution, what also happens? There's a likelihood that your emotions are battered and your problem solving skills are you don't improve on them. You don't grow. Why? The ability to navigate conflicts gives you and I an opportunity to hone in on our problem solving skills. It helps us to learn how to manage our emotions. So, how do we develop healthy conflict resolution? How, as families, I said this is important because we must, in a supportive, loving, caring way, be able to resolve our conflicts, because conflicts will always happen. But how do we resolve them? So I like to run through a few steps. We're talking about maintaining harmony in our relationships. So I'd just like to run through a few steps of how we can have healthy conflict resolutions in our family. The first thing I like to say is, please pray and stay calm. Pray and ask God for calmness. Hey, before addressing any conflict, I beg you, by the mercies of God, please pray to God and ask him for the spirit of calmness, so that you will not just scatter the matter. When we learn to come into conflicts in a calm manner, we are able to resolve it better and quicker. We are able to communicate our thoughts better. We are able to calm down emotions better. So the first thing I'd like you to do, if there's any conflict that is raging in your family, I beg you, just pray to God for calmness. Pray to God to give you a calm spirit to address this. I said, calm down before you go forward to address it. The second thing I like to say is, please address issues promptly and privately with the parties concerned. And for this, I like to talk to us as parents. When we have misunderstanding with our spouses, please, can we not bring up the arguments in the presence of the children? It does a lot of damage to them emotionally, more damage than we would ever be able to fathom. And so you have children growing up and they are relating to their friends on, like I told you, I worked in the school system for a bit. And so you'll be a teacher. I remember when I was still in the classroom, I'll be in the classroom teaching, maybe I'm facing the board, and then I'm hearing a 4-year-old talking to his friend and talking about his mom and dad had an argument yesterday, and my daddy called my mommy foolish, and my mommy say, I'm not foolish, you are the idiot. And then his friends are like, are you serious? And then another one goes, your one is just talk. The other day when my mommy was talking, my daddy just slapped her butt. And as a teacher, there's a lot of heaviness and bitterness in my heart. And I'm wondering how parents can put their children through such damage to emotions. Please, I plead with us for us to have healthy conflict resolutions in our family so that we can maintain harmony. Can we please talk about conflicts, addressing them in private, so that we do not end up giving our children an impression that things are really bad and marriage is bad. Also, talking about parents to children, can we cut down on running down our children in front of the other siblings? Let me explain what I mean. So one child has done very well. The other child is not pulling his weight. Can we please try, if we need to talk about how we feel, not cut down this person to size in front of the other siblings? Can we have private conversations to resolve whatever conflict we may be having in our family? I'd also like to say this. I said addressing it promptly and privately. Promptly, so that it doesn't degenerate and go too far before you come and talk about it. Because if we let the resentment settle, and we're saying, I'll talk about it another time. Okay, you may be waiting for the person to calm down. Maybe the other party is angry. But please, can you not let it go on for too long, so that it doesn't, the resentment, the hurt, the pain, the anger that the person is going through does not keep boiling in his or her mind, and the person is feeling like, I'm sure I can't be important to him. If I was important to him, he would have talked to me about it. So, pray for and seek for calmness. 2, address issues promptly and privately with parties concerned. The third thing I like to talk about in healthy conflict resolutions for us to maintain a harmonious relationship is that we must practice active listening without interruption. And for that, I'm talking to the women first. Please, can we cut down on being listening just so that we can speak? We do that a lot. We listen not because we want to understand, but most times we're listening because we want to respond. We're listening because I'm just waiting for you to figure. How can you hear what the person is saying? How can you have a solution or prefer a solution when all we are doing is listening to respond? Please, can we begin to practice active listening even with our children? Can we hear them when we have hurt them? Can we not shut them down and say, how can you be saying that I'm your mother, I'm your father? No, I can't. No, you can't keep hurting people's feelings and want them to be silent about it. Can we just listen, not to respond, but listen because we really care and we want to make the person feel better? Can we also practice active listening by showing respect for the other person's emotion? Can we not continually discountenance this person's feeling and make the person feel like it just doesn't matter? Can we give each family member an opportunity to express their feelings without you and I interrupting? Without us, and when I say interrupting, I'm not talking about what we say only. You know, those expressions we make, the person talks and go, and the way you look, and the person says, you're looking at me like that, I'm not even saying anything again. So when we speak, you know, everything is communication. Our body, women, God will help us in Jesus' name. So please, practice active listening without interruption. Listen to understand and not just to respond. Respect the person's view so that this can encourage open communication. The fourth thing under that is that, can we please help to validate the next person's feeling? It would be nice for you to validate this person's emotion and feeling by saying, please, I understand that right now you're also very upset with me. I know you're quite angry with me because of what has happened. When you have said that, you have let the person understand the fact that you know that his own feeling or her feeling matters as well. And so what happens? This will reduce the level of defensiveness that comes from that person. It makes it easier for both of you to reach a resolution. But when you come and it's all about you, the person's feeling and emotion is not important. It's a put off. We do that with our children also. We do that with our spouses. We don't validate their own feeling. It's just so much about you and I. And so what happens? The person is put off and it's not even want to communicate or to have a discussion around it. Validate each other's feelings. We're still talking about conflict resolution. Can we also please learn to focus on the issue and not the person? Let's not come across as being accusatory. You know, for the discussion to be constructive, we have to be careful not to keep pointing accusing finger, making it a personal thing. You every time you are always. Can we come with statements of I that reduces the other party's defensiveness? You know, when I come across as accusing you that you have done something wrong, there's a tendency that you don't even want to resolve anything. You are angry that I am accusing you of being the party that is wrong. But if we come, and we're talking about harmony here, if we come to resolve our conflicts and we come with statements using I, and that way you are communicating how you feel and not necessarily assigning blame. I observe that when I speak with you, I get the feeling. So what has happened? You are saying here that it could just be me that is feeling this way. And so I'm giving you an opportunity as my child. I'm giving you an opportunity as my spouse to correct me if I'm wrong. So that way you are mindful of your tone and the words that you speak. Your tone is not coming out as being disrespectful. Your tone is not coming out as harsh or condemning or judging or criticizing. So you focus on the issue and not the person. You are mindful of the I statement, to use the I and not you. And then you are mindful of your tone of voice also and the words you speak. Finally, on that healthy relationship coming from the place of conflict resolution, can I also beg us to learn to forgive? Can we just forgive and move forward? Forgiveness is a vital tool for us to be able to resolve our conflicts amicably. It's vital in our relationship with our family members, in our relationship with everybody. Forgiveness is a healing for yourself, and this reflects the nature of Christ. When you forgive, it's not so much about the next person who has offended you. It's basically for your own emotional well-being. It's also for your own peace of mind, if I can put it that. So can we just choose to forgive each other once a resolution has been reached, so that we can avoid bringing up past issues? Can we not come and say, that's the way you did it 3 days ago, you're doing the same thing again today? There can't be harmony in such a family. There can't be harmony in such a relationship when we keep rehashing the past of what the person has done before. And this person has apologized for it all, but you just have to bring it up to buttress your point on this new hurt that you're feeling. Can we forgive and move forward so that we can have harmony? I need to run up. So the third thing I like to speak about the fourth thing I like to speak about in maintaining a harmonious relationship is taking ownership in our family relationship. Yes, I'm serious about this. When people come to me for coaching, I see that we have a way of shelving relationships and shelving responsibility and believe that it is one person that should be doing certain things. What I'm talking about here is there's a need for you and I to actively accept our responsibility. Responsibility for your actions, responsibility for your decisions, responsibility for your contributions to the family dynamics. Every member of the family must take ownership in family relationships. You need to, because you have to recognize how your behavior or your lack of behavior, if I can say that, affects other people in the family. When a father is not responsible, when a mother is unforgiving, when children are unserious in their studies, we must all learn how all this put together comes together and contributes to our family dynamics. Every person in our family must recognize their own responsibility and how it affects. Why? And how do we do this? One, everyone must acknowledge responsibility. Recognize that we all have vital roles to play in the family's well-being, and your action impacts others. As a father, your action impacts others. As a mother, your action impacts others. As children, your action impacts others. When conflicts arise, instead of blaming other people, can we all just sit down and reflect on our own behavior and begin to acknowledge how we have contributed to this situation that could degenerate into something bigger if it is not dealt with? Did you hear that? So each person must learn to accept their responsibility. Where you're not doing well, you see, that's why I talked about a need for people to understand their roles and responsibilities. Because when we do not understand that, you don't know that you've even done anything wrong. So when anything goes wrong in a family, there's a need to sit down, and each person must know that whatever it is you do, positive or negative, it has an effect on your family and the harmony therein. The second thing I like to talk about here in taking ownership is that we must be accountable for our actions. It's not just enough for you to acknowledge it. There's a need for us also to own up to our mistakes, and we must face the consequences. So let me give an example. In the house, in your family, there's a rule that the cutoff point for the children to come back home is maybe 9 p.m. when they go on outings with their friends over the weekend. And this child now comes back later. There's a need for that child to face the consequences of the action. Why? Because if that is not done, there's a likelihood or a tendency that the child is going to do the same thing again. And what now happens? Everybody is at loggerheads. You're angry. Your blood pressure is rising. You have to make that child understand that when you stay out late, I'm under pressure because I'm concerned for your safety as your parent. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? So everybody must be accountable for their actions. As a mother, as a father, we are all responsible for whatever actions we take, and we must be made to face the consequences, So that's why when in school system, when we lay out rules, there are also consequences. Each person must understand the consequences for their action, and it's really important here. The third thing is that for us to be able to take ownership in our relationships, we must learn to take initiative. Let every member of the family be proactively involved in taking initiative concerning things around the home. Let's not wait to be told what to do all the time. Let everybody see it as it's our collective responsibility and not necessarily, like I recall a long time ago, my son was a lot younger and he was sweeping and somebody came and the person looked at him and the person was like, how can your son be sweeping when you have your daughter and you have your help? Why should you make him sweep? And I'm like, excuse you? What is wrong with him sweeping? He says, it's not dignifying for a man to be sweeping. I said, it's not dignifying. So when his wife is 9 months pregnant, it's the wife that will be bending over double to do the sweeping. No, he has to learn to do it. So can we all be proactive in contributing to our family responsibilities and activities and not wait for someone to take charge, not wait for someone else to do it? I mean, your children should be taught that when they see that something is not right, they are doing it because you have trained them, right, on roles and responsibilities that this family belongs to us all. So everyone is proactive and not necessarily waiting to be guided or to be coerced into doing what they should do. Also, as a family, for us to live together in harmony, right, taking ownership in our family, there's a need for us to learn that there will be times that we have to compromise. You can't have a family and say you're going to be rigid. There can't be harmony in your family when you go, it has to be my way or your way. There's a need for us to recognize that family relationships is about flexibility. And there must be a willingness to find common ground. So as a father, you can't stand up there and say your children must always come up to meet up with you. You also must be able to come down and listen to them and meet them halfway sometimes, as long as it's not injurious to any member of the family. As a mother, you also must learn also, there has to be a place, not a case of, I'm not going to agree. It's either you do it my way or not. No, you can't be rigid in a family and have harmony and live in harmony. You can't. It can't happen. You can't at all. Everyone taking ownership means you must be willing to compromise. When you're planning a family outing, let me give an example. Each person may have their preferences. There's a need for us to work together. You're watching television. You're the only one because you're the alpha male in the house. It has to be on the soccer channel. The children don't get an opportunity to watch what they want. Please, having a harmonious family, it has to do with being willing to compromise, to do things and recognize the fact that there's a need for flexibility. Also, we must embrace vulnerability. For us to live in harmony as in a family, for us to take ownership as a family, we must embrace what I call vulnerability. There's a need for us as parents to open up to our parents, to be vulnerable, so that there can be deeper connections. I recall a long time ago, I was talking to my daughter, and I was telling her about instances when I was growing up where I was bullied because I had a low self-esteem. And I was quite explicit when I was sharing this with her. I saw that she looked at me strangely because the mom she knows is this confident BC Bitaya, the one who has everything put together. And so in her mind, she was looking at me like, wow. And do you know what that did? It was able to foster for both of us a deeper connection and understanding. So if she has any challenge concerning self-esteem, she can come to me because she knows that I can share in her struggles. I can share in her fears and her concerns. Why? Because I've walked that path before. Daddy, please stop telling them you passed all your courses when you were in school. Tell them about the ones that you failed and that how you felt when you failed, so that they can turn to you in their times of weakness. You know, the reason why a lot of children these days don't turn to their parents when they have challenges of being bullied out there, they're not doing well, there's peer pressure of wanting to be coerced into doing hard substances or doing things that go against the values of the family. You know, when we act like our lives have been perfect all along, it's almost impossible for our children to approach us and talk to us. But when you learn have been vulnerable at a point in your life, there's a tendency that they see you in their struggles and they're able to communicate their fears and their concerns to you. And that way you offer comfort, you offer strength to them. Why? Because you have been vulnerable and you have shared your struggles and your fears, and as such you are able to handhold them and get them out of how they are feeling. The final one I'd like to talk about there is that there's a need for you to reflect on your impact. Every one of us must regularly assess how our behavior affects the family dynamics and relationships. You know, family meetings are very important, I promise you honestly. Even as husband and wife, the way when your husband gives you the cold treatment, how it makes you feel, how it's a trigger to you. You husband, when your wife denies you of conjugal rights, how it makes you feel. It's important for us to reflect on the impact each one of us makes on the other party. Let the children know what your concerns and your pains are when they do not do things. Why? This will help to build trust and make us dependable in our families. You know, because we are building trust when we are open with one another. We are sharing with each other what impact we're reflecting on, the impact that each person's contribution or lack of it is making on the dynamics of the family. And so what happens to us? We begin to consider how to do things differently. When I'm sharing with you my pain point, the things that have happened to me, by what you do or what we fail to do, what happens? We're building trust in our family, in our relationship. And then you begin to introspect and ask yourself, what can I do to make this person feel better? So there's a need for us to continually assess our behaviors as family, and how it affects the dynamics of our relationships, and also to see how we have contributed to conflicts and consider what we could have done differently or what we should do differently in future. Also, this will help to build trust by being dependable on one another. So I've been talking here about the fourth point of taking ownership in our family relationships. And why are we doing all this? We're doing all this so that we can have harmony in our families. It's not rocket science. There's some simple things that are basic, but these things are things that tug at the hearts of our loved ones. If we could only step down from the pedestal we've put ourselves and be more concerned about how people we make others feel and how they make us feel, having this open communication, and then each person taking ownership and doing what he or she should do to make things work out better, I believe we can be different music notes that are singing in harmony, and our families will be better off for it. There's still so much to talk about, but this is the time that I have. It's been a pleasure having to do this with you. Please go over the notes and ensure that you listen to them over and over again without judgment or condemnation in your heart, but for you to be a better person and for your